Well, good morning. This is the first day of our annual spring backpacking trip. Hey guys, I'm Dan from ShastaBubba Adventures, and we have, or I should say did have, a big backpacking trip planned, but plans have changed because the weather has turned really bad. There's actually a big snowstorm headed our way. So our original plans have been changed. We're going with Plan B, and that will be to explore the Scablands of Washington State. And even though it's a Plan B, I'm actually kind of looking forward to this because it's an area that I've always wanted to explore. Going to be picked up in a few minutes by Chris, and Eric is going with us this year, so that should be fun. Maybe going to be more of a car camping trip this time, although I'm really hoping to get at least one night of camping out in the desert. Come along and let's see what happens. Since we're car camping, the first thing I got to do is fill a couple of blueies of water, and it's going to be out in the desert too, so don't know if we're really going to need it, but better safe than sorry. So I wanted to try to use these maps to explain the Washington Scablands. And it actually has to do with something called Glacial Lake Missoula. So a while back, glaciers came down this trench in North Idaho and blocked off the Clark Fork River, among others. And that all backed up into this area of northwest Montana. And this entire area was flooded with the reservoir behind that dam. Eventually, the pressure of all this water floated that dam and broke it out, and all that water flooded out in this direction towards Washington State. So if you look at a map of Washington, almost the entire eastern Washington is desert country, and it's called the Scablands because it was wiped clean of all the topsoil, most of the topsoil, so it's very denuded of vegetation. And all the water came out through this direction and then came down to the Columbia Gorge, created the Columbia Gorge, and on out to the ocean. And I've read that when that flood happened, the flow of water was greater than the combined flow of all rivers on the globe. And even more amazing is that flood event happened about 50 times. So just astonishing to think about. And that's part of why I've always been fascinated by this area and wanted to go explore out here.
Hey.
And here they are.
How are you?
Good. Morning, you're right on time.
Hey, did the dogs let us?
We traveled across 2 states to get out of the rain and snow, but it was still coming down when we reached the first stop of our tour, which was Dry Falls State Park.
Dry Falls State Park, next left.
What's that? If I ask them about their video.
There's a map of what I was trying to show earlier with the ice dam in North Idaho backing up Glacial Lake Missoula in northwestern Montana, and when it busted out, flooding all this area of central Washington and even down to the Willamette Valley south of Portland. Perfect timing. Yeah.
After taking in the whole vista from the visitor center, we wandered down to the floor of the valley to get a closer view.
Got him.
We got back in the rig and headed south, but it wasn't till we were almost to Ephrata that the rain finally let up. Toward dinner time, we made it to Frenchman Coulee, and the wow factor started in again. We would be camping at a place known as the Feathers, a bit of a climber's mecca this time of year. We arrived early enough to grab a prime spot, which was lucky because people would continue showing up long past midnight and camping in any tiny, ridiculous place possible.
Where are you going to set up, Chris?
Oh, I don't care. You take first pick. This is a... How's that? You like it?
First time I've tried it.
Cool.
Not as loud as I was thinking when I first tried it at home.
As we talked around the fire, a loose plan formed. We decided to explore this area in the morning of day 2, then move back north to look around and possibly camp at one of the Quincy lakes, more specifically a group called the Ancient Lakes. How could we go wrong with such an enticing name, right? Day 3, we thought it might be fun to go across the river and hike in the hills north of Vantage, finally getting my wished-for night in the desert.
I don't have it downloaded anymore, the night lapse one.
This is just an awesome place. Really stupendous.
It's just their ultralight kind of, not really ultralight. Well, it's, I mean, it's not too bad actually. Lightish, yeah, for a person.
Well, good morning. It's day 2, and we're just gonna head up, scramble up on top of that mesa there and see what we can see. And but pretty much the whole day just kind of scrambling around and exploring this area. So come on along. Notice the folks way up there at the top. That's where we're headed. That wind is kind of brutal, but seems to die down when you get in the lee of the cliffside here. Wow, that's where we spent the night. That's awesome. You can just maybe see the freeway going along there, just past George, heading down towards Vantage. Ooh, baby.
Switch places.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm fine.
There you go.
Cool it off. For sure.
Check out the way these columns are over here. Fully detached. Oh wow, there's a climb right there too. Access it from one end.
Big smile.
I'm smiling.
Are you smiling?
You're smiling.
Are you smiling? Are you really
Oh, I'm
smiling?
totally smiling, man.
I can't believe it.
I'm thinking about tacos.
think the technical term is channeled scablands for obvious reasons, right?
Uh-oh.
There you go. Touch the Columbia.
Touch the Columbia. Just want to make sure. So, yeah.
Things on the right. Are we having a picnic here?
Want to get a video of this, Dan? Cool entrance
Did it?
out the window.
Yeah.
That's a popular wedding spot.
Right here.
With its hot, dry climate, this area is known for fruit orchards and wine growing, so we decided to take in a wine tasting at the Cave B Winery, partly because Chris had been there before, and partly because, well, why not?
This backpacking trip is hell.
It is.
I'm all wore out.
In retrospect, we all agreed this probably was the moment we gave up on backpacking.
Well, that was great fun doing a wine tasting. Not exactly what you normally expect to have happen on a backpacking trip, but it's good to go with the flow. And it's a lot of fun so far. I'm thinking this is a joke with no target shooting, and somebody's blasted the sign with shotgun, which might be why this area is gated due to vandalism. So we made it to the Ancient Lakes area. And this is Quincy Lake. And I'm kind of thinking they're all going to be like this. Just little pothole lakes. Pretty, but not sure we want to spend the night here.
Getting smacked in the face by a dust devil pretty much decided it. All our plans were in the trash now. With nowhere specific to go, I took out the map and let my eyes wander. They landed on the little town of Leavenworth, which I have driven through many times, but always wanted to stop and look around someday. I worked out the distance and realized we were only about an hour away. Hey guys, I suggested if we go to Leavenworth, we can get bratwurst and beer and camp in the mountains. That's all it took.
Well, we made it to Leavenworth, and I'm happy because I got my bratwurst and sauerkraut, not to mention some really good German beers. So we're not a complete loss, even though we're not backpacking. But I think we're going to end up at some campground in the neighborhood of Leavenworth. So pretty happy to be in the mountains instead of out in the desert. This is a potential place to stay in this campground. It's closed, but there's places to park right beside it on just off the road. So we're debating about hiking down in and setting up tents, even though we can't drive to the spot. Just to pretend we're actually going to be on a backpacking trip, here we are carrying our packs about 100 feet. But this counts, right? Right, Eric?
Yep.
Going to the awesome little campground here. I believe it's called 8 Mile Campground, just outside of Leavenworth. Chris is set up in the next lot over there. I'm all set up here. We got our little Solo stove campfire started, and Eric's setting up right there. And the road is just over there. Perfect situation.
Yeah, more milk. Chocolate milk, yeah.
Pretend it's not there. It's freaking me out a little bit.
It's really freaking me out.
Well, good morning. I'm just walking around first thing in the morning exploring this campground where we stayed last night. Trying to warm up a little, but also exploring because it's such a beautiful place. We really scored with this find. Today is going to be even more of a mystery than the previous days. We got a couple little very tentative ideas, but really no idea where we're going to end up today or what we're going to do today. So that should be fun. We had good intentions to backpack into ancient lakes and spend the night sort of in the backcountry there. But boy, when we got there, it was so disappointing. And we figured that every one of those lakes was just going to be another pothole. Kind of interesting geologically, but not really a very inviting place to spend the night compared to something like this gorgeous forest. So I'm glad that we decided to be flexible and punt with the initial idea. I guess that's maybe the theme of this trip, is go with plan B. We certainly wouldn't be in Leavenworth if we weren't thinking that way. But we are having a lot of fun. So stay tuned to see where we end up today. Let's go.
Probably, yeah.
That's funny. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. We have anything from the car?
Yeah, I gotta get my stuff up there too. I think I left my keys in the tent. I think I rolled up the tent. That's kind of wherever we want, I guess, huh? Get after it.
Yeah, so we're there.
Yeah.
Or we could do the totally ridiculous thing. Go up across the North Cascades Highway. Okay, all packed up and headed out for the big adventure. Looks like we're heading up north, but who knows where we're gonna land tonight. Anything you care to add?
No, that sounds great.
Well, I think a lot of them you can kind of leave your stuff set up.
Yeah. Just tuck everything.
After studying the map for a while, I suggested we drive up to Oroville just because, well, it's another place on the map I have looked at and wondered what's it like to live there.
Should I honk?
You do what you feel called to do.
That was justification enough for this crowd, so off we went to Oroville.
Beautiful. Perfect. Living life. It's crazy.
By the time it gets down.
Nice beach.
Ow, it's got a needle. It's got a needle.
So we made it to Oroville, and there's just a beautiful park here right on the water of the Osoyoos Lake. And this is just an amazing lake that goes all the way up into Canada.
So we started at Leavenworth, came down to Wenatchee, then north along the Columbia and Okanagan rivers, had lunch at Omak, then all the way to the border. Now we had to backtrack to Tonasket and turn east to follow Highway 20 over the Kettle Crest. Sherman Pass is the middle of the Kettle Crest Trail, the area that I hiked 2 years ago with my great-nephew Dax.
Big lake.
Well, good morning. It's day 4 of our epic car camping wandering. We ended up just outside of Medellin at this dam that actually provides a pretty wonderful free campground and playground just below the dam. So really appreciative of that. It's nice to camp in the cedars. Did get kind of cold last night, down to 37 by my new thermo drop. And so we're just getting packed up and have a leisurely drive back to Kalispell today. What are we doing here, Eric?
It's like your third grade book report. I did my report on Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was the 7th president of the. I have no idea actually. No, so what I'm trying to figure out is I'm trying to keep it all packed together with all the layers, and so I figured out last night that if you pull this side and pull the other side, you can flip it over itself to dry up the floor before you pack it.
Nice.
So right now I kind of have just my gloves here holding this up, get all the condensation off from the ground, have that dry up, and then I'll be able to unhook and then pack it up, pull it off the poles, pack it up in the air and not have to have a bunch of wet.
Looks like it's working.
So far.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, now can't get enough of the screen, can you?
We started the day with a little side trip up to see the Boundary Dam and stumbled on these folks enjoying their morning.
That's awesome. So this is the Boundary Dam. and they have a beautifully maintained day use and campground area. 5-star campground. There's nobody here. Beautiful opportunity though. So far it's been a surprisingly enjoyable thing to just kind of wander around aimlessly without any goal or particular time to get places. Fueled mainly just by us looking at the map saying, hey, I've always wondered what that place looked like, and okay, let's go look at it. So it's been fun from that standpoint. Can't wait to get back to actual backpacking, although it was fun to get to use the gear again, even in the more tame camping situations that we experienced on this trip. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.
Do you think it'd work to use the
Flex tail.
pump?
Pump.
Yeah. Where do you get these?
There's a link on my channel.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Let me see if it works.
And if you click on that link and use the code BUBBA15, you can get 15% off your new Flex tail pump.
That's really good. That worked really well, Dan.
And brake.
Flex tail.
That's awesome.
You know, they probably would absolutely adore that.
You're not using it as footage, are you?
Yeah, he's taking it. I'm pretty sure he's going to use it. So.
I mean, you're going to mute it, though.
What?
Yeah.
Remember, we have jobs and families, Dan.
Yeah, jobs and families.
Jobs and families.
I know you want to have a big channel, but
Jobs and families, Dan.
jobs and families. Oh, no. Lose my job.
As if your jobs were more important than my legs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Sorry about your little lives. The channel will take over.
It's so quaint.
The algorithm. Yeah.
The algorithm. Their algorithm is everything.
Bow to the algorithm.